It's about the restoration of our republic. We want to educate, encourage, enable the power. We stand for integrity, honesty, self-reliance, self-defense, and most importantly, no compromise on our foundational principles. This is America's Voice Now.
Find America's Voice Now on Facebook and at americasvoicenow.org. Here's Michael Evans.
All right, good morning, America. You're listening to America's Voice Now. This is segment 3 of our show on September 3rd. These last two segments, we're going to cover the AT&T data scandal, how AT&T is using vast phone troves of data that eclipses the NSA's program and turning that information over to law enforcement authorities in the United States of America, and what we can do about it. I think, frankly, the number one response should be a complete boycott of AT&T. Everything and anything that you have to do with them. Shut it off, cut it out, turn it off, shut it down, boycott them. And then our next segment, we're going to talk about Obamacare and the unions and how they are opting out. And now, of course, the government's attempting to jump back in. Obama's going to try to offer his whore, the unions, some special dispensation to draw them back in. So basically, he's just going to pay his whore some more money. We're going to tackle that one right after we get through with this one. But right off the bat, let's take a look at what is going on with the DEA. The drug agents used vast phone trove data eclipsing the NSA's phone scandals issues. You know, this is all over the Times, and it's over a number of other. But you know what? It's gotten very, very short shrift. There's not a whole lot of talk about it. I mean, they put it out there so they can say, well, we told you so. The project is called Hemisphere. It's a partnership between federal and local drug officials and AT&T. It's not previously been reported. It involves an extraordinarily close association between the government and the telecommunications giant AT&T. For at least the past 6 years alone, law enforcement officials working on a counter-narcotics program have had routine access using subpoenas, which, by the way, are self-declared. There's no judge that signs off on them, to an enormous AT&T database that goes back as far as 1986, people. It contains the phone records of decades of America's phone calls. Is there any limit to how far this government will descend into the bowels and the depths of deprivation and treason? I mean, the issue here of using this and claiming that it's for drug enforcement is simple to understand. Those of you who say, yes, but they're using it to catch drug dealers. Well, okay, let's understand something. The same government who's telling you that they need to violate your rights and your privacy to defend you from drugs is the same government that is actually using and funding those same drug cartels. They are defending them using our military and our black ops budgets of $50-some-odd billion. Do you not remember when I talked to you a year and a half ago about how the DEA was caught funding and the CIA were doing money laundering to $400 billion of drug money into their own coffers? They're funding themselves outside the Black Ops budget and betraying you. Then they go out there and claim that their job and their function and their role is to protect you from drugs. Well, let's understand the real truth here, people. The government wants drugs in the streets and in the systems because that keeps America asleep and apathetic, stupid, useless, and completely dumbed down and numbed down. Furthermore, they use the excuse of having all those drugs on the street, which they perpetuate and preserve and assist, to then derogate and steal your rights away. Your Fourth Amendment right, your First Amendment right, your Second Amendment right, and the list goes on and on and on. You fund it, you pay for it, and they're playing both ends from the middle. Now AT&T is helping them. I've told you about CALEA, Communications and Law Enforcement Act. Back when I was in the telecom industry, I told you and warned you what was happening with that. CALEA was a program that allowed the federal government to tap straight into cellular switches, the back-end switching network, because cellular phones couldn't be tapped like landline phones. And the government was unhappy about it, and they claimed that it was so that they would be able to track and capture drug dealers and blah, 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 blah. That's why they have GPS chips in the phone that you cannot shut off now. Their claim to you is that it's only there so that, and we block you from turning it off because if you were in a crash and your vehicle turned over and you had fallen off of a cliff into a ravine somewhere and you couldn't tell people where you were, we can track your phone call. If you believe that, you're a darn fool. The real reason GPS is in your phone is so that they can track you and everybody else, legal and otherwise, lawful and otherwise, regular citizens and drug dealers. The truth of the matter is, it doesn't really matter to them. They're only interested in tracking everybody, and they don't really care whether you're a current lawbreaker or a future lawbreaker. But the truth of the matter is, it's only a matter of time because you're one or the other. And as far as they're concerned, we're all lawbreakers just waiting to be captured. That's the truth, America. Understand where you are. This is nothing more than the farmer who's decided to put an electronic alert system on every cow he owns. Oh, you're the cow. That's the truth. This is nothing more than an electronic monitoring device, just like they put on a guy who's serving home detention, a GPS monitoring device. You willingly carry it in your pocket everywhere you go. Every day, you allow them to monitor and track you. AT&T's been doing it since '87. Folks, they are allowing the drug, this is so bad, they've actually got employees inside the DEA working, sitting side by side, DEA agent and analyst, AT&T employee. The DEA guy says, hey, Bob, Mr. AT&T employee, we got a track phone number 123-456-78910. And he pulls it up and willingly hands it over. All the data, all the location information, all the content. And you're paying for it. The government actually pays AT&T to place its employees in the drug-fighting units around the country. Those employees sit alongside DEA agents and local detectives and supply them with phone data. The project comes to light at a time of vigorous public debate over the proper limits on government surveillance and on the relationship between government agencies and communications companies. It offers the most significant look to date at the use of such large-scale data for law enforcement rather than for national security. Did you hear that? You've been told all this time that the NSA program is necessary because it's in national security's best interest, and that we have an obligation to save and protect the country. Well, now what are they going to tell us about the AT&T phone thing? Well, this is only limited for drug enforcement. Bunk! If you believe that, I've got oceanfront property in the heart of St. Louis to sell you. What kind of a darn fool are you to believe that kind of a lie? This is being used and built and stored and warehoused because the government knows that they can't do it, so they pay AT&T to be their surrogate trader. Hemisphere, that's the program. and it makes the NSA's gathering of phone call logs look like a Weeblo. It's not even in the Cub Scout range. Forget Eagle Scout. Hemisphere covers every call that passes through an AT&T switch, not just those made by AT&T customers. And it includes all calls dating back 26 years. 4 billion call records are added every single day. 4 billion calls. Unlike the NSA data, the Hemisphere data includes information on the locations of the callers. Folks, let's put on our critical thinking caps for a moment and think about this. So, the federal government is precluded by the Fourth Amendment from doing something which they cannot do domestically, which they use the NSA for, allegedly internationally, where the Constitution doesn't apply. So how is it we can get those domestic people and get around this stupid, pesky thing called the Constitution, they ask themselves. Oh, wait a second. We'll get AT&T and Verizon and Microsoft and Google and AOL and Facebook to do our dirty work for us. That's right. We'll get them to do it. You know, then we'll buy the data. We'll just buy the data from them. And we can say, with plausible deniability and all sincerity on our little measly rat faces when we're on camera, we didn't do anything illegal to violate Americans' Fourth Amendment rights against illegal search and seizure. AT&T did, but we didn't. Just those people over at AT&T. A lie based upon an omission is still a lie, isn't it? A lie is a lie is a lie is a lie. You can deny it, but it doesn't make it go away. Here's a quote right off the slide. This is a series of 27 PowerPoint slides that were given to the New York Times by Drew Hendricks. He's a peace activist in Port Hadlock, Washington. He got the PowerPoint presentation when he put in a request for like a Freedom of Information Act, public information request to West Coast police agencies. And it was marked law enforcement sensitive. Here's what it says. All requesters, in writing right on the slide, all requesters are instructed to never refer to Hemisphere in any official document. A search of the Nexus database found no reference to the program in news reports or any congressional hearings. So here's what's happening. They capture the information, they get the phone call document they need, then they go and use that to violate someone's Fourth Amendment rights, knowing that they've got the information, but unable to figure out how they can get it to be used in a court. They just pretend that they got it in some other surreptitious way. They refuse to reference Hemisphere so that no one will be aware of how they're actually getting it. I'll tell you what, folks. The information itself is being stored by AT&T. So the government then has plausible deniability to say, we didn't do anything wrong. The Obama administration acknowledges the extraordinary scale of the Hemisphere database once it's confronted with it, and the usual embedding and the unusual, embedding of AT&T employees in government drug units in 3 states. But they said the project, which has proved especially useful in finding criminals who discard cell phones frequently to thwart government tracking, employed routine investigative procedures used in criminal cases for decades and poses no novel privacy issues. You know, why would you believe the same lies from the same liars over and over and over and over and over again? Crucially, they say, the phone data is stored by AT&T and not by the government, as in the NSA program. It is queried for phone numbers of interest, mainly using what are called administrative subpoenas, quote unquote. These are issued not by a grand jury or by a judge, but simply by a federal agency, the DEA. So, that ought to tell you right there, people, that you have no Fourth Amendment expectation of protection. And I'm going to tell you something else. There's an article this morning in the New American that is even worse. And it's called, the title is, Hearing Shows Feds Think Americans Have No Privacy Rights. A recent 3-hour hearing by the House Judiciary Committee on the FISA court and a follow-up on a congressional inquiry surrounding the explosive information exposed by NSA leaker Edward Snowden revealed that the Obama administration believes Americans essentially have no right to privacy. National correspondent Andy Ramirez with the Liberty News Network attended the hearing and reported that the federal government has gone wild. Quote, "They're not going by the rules. They're making them up," says Ramirez, and as he explains in an exclusive video report after the hearing, noting that the law has been amended by the secret FISA court rather than regular courts or Congress. Clearly, they're changing things without public oversight. There is a great level of abuse of authority. The executive branch has clearly crossed the line and are being called on it, and for the most part in a bipartisan way, at least where FISA is concerned. The responses by the Justice Department and the NSA are flimsy, and that was obvious. One congressman featured in the video, for example, notes that during the hearing that the secret court approves virtually every single request by the government. The only party represented in the illegitimate court is the government itself, which critics say is unconstitutional. Out of almost 34,000 government requests to the FISA court, the representative pointed out the shadowy body denied only 11. Lawmakers blasted the government's brazen violations of the Fourth Amendment. At least one congressman even threatened that Congress would refuse to renew the irrelevant section of the Patriot Act, granting the purported authority when the provision expires. There's an entire video tied to it. I think I would like for you to go watch that. I will post that up on. It's already up on our Facebook page and on our YouTube page, our website. Make sure that you go and see it. Here's the deal, people. Don't you see what's going on here? We are being monitored, and listen. This is so out of control. Your own government says you have no right to privacy, and then they're using every tool in the book to be able to make sure that they go out there and beat you to the punch, to be able to block you from finding out what's going on. I mean, with all the data on the NSA coming out over the past month or two and Edward Snowden, why does nothing at all come out about this hemisphere? You see, they knew about hemisphere all along, but they kept that hidden. So if they've kept hemisphere hidden, what else did we not know about? How many other companies are involved in programs like Hemisphere? We don't know. Is Verizon got one out there? Does Sprint have one out there? Who else are they getting information from? We know they're getting it from Google. We know they're getting it from AOL, from Yahoo. Who else is giving them information? Who else is acting like their surreptitious protector to be able to get them information, which is, for all intents and purposes, a constitutional violation for them to do, and then just they are buying it and selling it off to you. You know, there was an article this morning that I posted up on our Facebook page about how the state of Missouri is doing that. We are constantly underneath a barrage of treason and tyranny right now. Everything that we know to be the real purpose of government is under assault. If you don't see it, if you don't smell it, if you don't taste it, you must be dead. I don't get it. How can you not? Are you alive? Pinch yourself to find out. Because what's going on right now is that everything that you ever thought you knew, everything that you thought you could believe in, Everything that you took for granted to be the role of government is a lie. A bald-faced lie. And you've been accepting it. Your state sells your data. Your insurance company sells your data. Your phone company sells your data. And who's the number one buyer for all this data? The government that's not supposed to get it. Just because the government doesn't collect it themselves doesn't make anything that they do buy from these companies any less a violation of your Fourth Amendment rights. If you're falling for that thinly veiled excuse that says, well, we didn't collect it, so therefore there's nothing wrong with it, I don't know what to suggest to you. You really believe that? Well, we didn't collect it, but if we buy it, it's okay to violate the Fourth Amendment that way? Really? Folks, we've reached the end of the road with this government. Your state, your federal governments, your city governments, your county governments, they are clearing the way for complete and total control. You know, I have raised so many concerns here. And if you're unwilling to educate yourself, then, you know, that's a failure within you to acknowledge and accept the truth. But it doesn't mean it's not happening. You can avoid reality, but you cannot avoid the consequence of avoiding reality. You can stand on the railroad track and pretend the train's not coming. But it is coming, and it's not slowing down, and there are no brakes. And if you continue to stand there with your back to it, at some point in time, you're going to be plastered to the front of it. You have two choices. You can stand there, knowing your fate, or you can get off the tracks. Where do you stand? Are you prepared to preserve and defend this nation? Are you prepared to protect and preserve your own family, your own community, your own city, your own church, your own town, your own village, your state? Time's up, people. I've been saying this for months and months and months. In fact, I've been promoting this for years. The evidence mounts every single day. We live in a police state. You just haven't been officially informed. You're listening to America's Voice Now. When we come back, we're going to talk about Obamacare and how the unions have opted out, and you should too, and how the government is about to step in and give them a special grant to reel their whore back in. You're listening to America's Voice. Find us on Facebook.com/America's Voice Now, YouTube.com/America's Voice Now, and AmericasVoiceNow.org. You can find us all over the web. Share it with your friends. Wake up, America. Time's up.